Tonight, when the sun goes down, you're probably going to flip a switch. Light will flood your room, and you won't think twice about it. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch didn't exist. When the sun set, the world didn't just get dim. It went totally, completely black, like can't see your own hand in front of your face dark. For over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors spent roughly half their lives in near total darkness. No candles, no streetlights, just the stars and whatever fire they could keep alive. So, what the heck did they actually do for all those hours? Well, before we tamed fire, the night was basically a horror movie. Humans have terrible night vision compared to the predators that hunted us. Moving around after dark meant you were instantly on the menu for leopards, hyenas, and wolves. So, our ancestors did what any sensible primate would do. They climbed a tree, stayed completely still, and prayed they wouldn't get eaten. But then came fire. The earliest solid proof of humans controlling it goes back roughly 1 million years to Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. And sure, fire kept us warm. But more importantly, it created a 30-foot circle of absolute safety. Inside that circle, life. Outside, death. This isn't even an exaggeration. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups today have shown that wandering away from the fire at night still drastically increases your chances of getting attacked. But fire did something else that completely rewired our psychology. It gave us extra hours. Think about it. Before fire, your useful day ended the second the sun dipped. That's barely 8 hours of daylight in the winter. Fire suddenly unlocked 2 to 4 extra hours every single evening. And over thousands of generations, those extra hours literally birthed human culture. An anthropologist named Polly Wiesner actually studied the Ju-Hwansi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth living a traditional hunter-gatherer lifestyle. She found that during the day, 80% of talk is just work. Logistics, finding plants, economic negotiations, pure business. But at night, the vibe completely flips. Over 80% of nighttime conversation is stories, myths, adventures, and jokes that make the whole camp laugh. The campfire was our first theater, our first classroom, and our first church. It's where humans learn to think beyond the immediate present and imagine things that don't even exist yet. It's where we became us. But the night wasn't just for storytelling. There's a secret about human biology that we completely forgot until about 30 years ago. Let me ask you, do you ever wake up at 2 in the morning, totally alert, and think, great, I have insomnia, my body is broken? Well, turns out you weren't actually designed to sleep in one continuous 8-hour block. In 2001, a historian named Roger E. Kirch dug through 16 years of old records, diaries, prayer books, medical texts, even Homer's Odyssey, and he found over 500 references to something called first sleep and second sleep. Before the industrial age, everyone on the planet slept in 2 shifts. People would hit the hay right after sunset, sleep for about 4 hours, and then wake up around midnight. They'd stay awake for an hour or 2, a period they called the watch, and then go back down for another 4 hours until dawn. This wasn't insomnia. This was just normal. And what did they do during that midnight gap? Everything. They visited neighbors, smoked, wrote, interpreted their dreams, or just lay in bed and thought. In fact, a 16th century French doctor literally wrote that the best time for couples to conceive babies was during this midnight gap because you were well rested and, well, did it better. For centuries, modern historians thought these old texts were just weirdly translated. They couldn't wrap their heads around it. But in 1992, science stepped in. A psychiatrist named Thomas Wehr took a bunch of volunteers and stripped away all artificial light. For a month, they lived in 14 hours of darkness every single night, just like our ancestors did. Within weeks, guess what happened? Without anyone telling them to, their bodies automatically reverted to the 2-phase sleep cycle. 4 hours of sleep, a few hours of quiet wakefulness, and 4 more hours of sleep. Even crazier, Ver measured their hormone levels during that midnight awake period. Their brains were pumping out massive amounts of prolactin, the exact same hormone that floods your system when you meditate or after you have an orgasm. The volunteers didn't feel tired or stressed. They described feeling incredibly peaceful, calm, and deeply reflective. It was a completely unique state of human consciousness. So, what killed this magical midnight meditation? Simple. Light. In the 1600s, cities like Paris and London started installing street lamps to curb crime. Then came cheaper candles, gas lamps, and finally, in 1879, Thomas Edison commercialized the electric light bulb. Within just one generation, the dark night we had known for 300,000 years was completely wiped out. The very word curfew actually comes from the French couvre-feu, which literally means cover fire. In medieval towns, a bell would ring to tell everyone to put out their fires, not just for safety, but because the night was supposed to be dark and private. Walking outside after dark without a lantern was literally illegal in many places. The night belonged to criminals and the supernatural. We feared it, and then we conquered it. We flooded it with light, and we thought that was progress. But here's what we lost. Today, we hang out in artificial light for an average of 7 to 8 hours after the sun goes down. And that blue light from your phone or TV? It straight up lies to your brain. Your retinas see that light at 11 p.m. and think, oh sweet, it's daytime, which totally halts your body's production of melatonin. Researchers have found that if you go camping for just 1 week with zero artificial light, your body clock resets by nearly 2 hours. Your body starts producing melatonin at sunset instead of hours after it. That's all it takes for 300,000 years of programming to take back over. We didn't just change our schedules, we accidentally erased a whole phase of human consciousness. That quiet, meditative state between first and second sleep barely exists anymore. Instead, we have insomnia, and we treat it like a disorder. But what if it's not a disorder at all? What if waking up at 2 a.m. and lying there in the dark isn't your body malfunctioning? What if it's just your body remembering what it was actually built to do? For nearly all of human history, our ancestors used the dark to tell stories that built civilizations, and used the midnight quiet to reflect on their lives. We traded all of that for a light switch, and most of us never even knew it was gone. Maybe tonight, it's time to just turn off the phone, embrace the dark, and let your mind wander.